If you're struggling to get the money for an investment property, then this video is for you because it'll be a complete breakdown of what a private lender is looking for when lending you money on a real estate deal. Private lenders are people that lend investors money on real estate deals. What you're about to watch is a recording of a talk from an investor of 45 years and someone who's a private lender where they go over how they find borrowers, the documents you need to set up, and what they look for in borrowers so you can sit back and learn exactly what you need to get your first private lending loan.
Welcome to the Austin Private Lender and Borrower Networking Meetup. We're going to be talking tonight about Private Lending 101. I'm Bill Kreider. If you have some money that you want to invest in real estate, why would you lend that money to someone investing in real estate instead of just investing it yourself? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. One reason is that maybe you like mailbox money instead of money that's a lot of hard work. Private lending is a little bit less hands-on than going out and swinging a paintbrush or swinging a hammer. If you do it carefully, it can also be less risk, but it has to be done right to be less risk because you can risk money as well. Also, lending can be less stressful. Personally, I've noticed that on almost every real estate deal, whether the investor makes a profit or not, there are three groups of people that almost always make a profit: the lawyers, the title companies, and the lenders. So where could I get funds to be a private lender? Well, maybe you have a pre-tax investment pool. Maybe you've made some profit from other real estate deals. You might have investments. You might have money you've saved up. Or you might have just worked for your money in a day job and saved up some money. Or you might have some after-tax investment pool, self-directed IRA, 401k, or some other tax-preferred investment money. One of the things that I do recommend is that you never borrow money to lend. Another thing is never lend money that you can't afford to lose. Here's an important list. Who should you never lend money to? First people you should never lend money to, unless you're a registered mortgage loan originator, you cannot lend to a person who will live in the house. You can use a house as collateral. Then there's some organization called the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau that enforces the Dodd-Frank legislation, and their rules say that you cannot loan to someone for their homestead. In general, homestead means, are you going to live in the house? And only RMLOs can lend to someone for their homestead. You should never lend to friends and relatives. Shakespeare was right. If you loan to a friend, you lose your friend and your money. Because the moment you loan money to someone, your relationship to them changes instantly. Don't loan to someone who can't afford it. That's called predatory lending. That's illegal and unethical. And don't loan to anyone who makes you uncomfortable. You need to trust your gut sometimes. If a person has an attitude, I've talked to people who come to me asking for a loan and then they immediately proceed to tell me how horrible their last lender was, how horrible banks are, how they don't trust anybody that lends money. Why would I loan to a person like that if they have that kind of an attitude? Don't loan to people who don't give you straight answers or they're evasive in any way. If you ask them about their income and they're like, well, my W-2 says I make this much, but really I make this much. Don't loan to them. And don't loan to people whose numbers are unrealistic. So people that come to you and they overinflate the market value of the property they're going to use as collateral. If they overinflate the value of the comps that they use. If they underestimate their rehab estimates. Never discriminate on legally protected attributes. Collateral. Collateral needs to be something you understand that's stable and secure in value. I understand real estate. I don't understand cattle futures, so I don't lend on cattle because I know real estate and I understand real estate. My choice is real estate only. My preference is single-family homes in Texas. Number 3, I recommend you never lend more than 70% of the value of the collateral. So maybe the property is worth, let's just pull a number out of thin air, $1 million today, and they want to borrow $1 million. It would be stupid to loan them $1 million because if the value of the real estate goes down to $900,000 and you have to foreclose, you will lose money. Always establish the value of the collateral independent of the borrower. So why don't you just take the borrower's word for the value of the collateral? They're biased. You might take a CMA, competitive market analysis. A competitive market analysis is when you get a realtor to do a desktop appraisal for you. They look in the MLS, they find comparable properties that have sold within the last 6 months, or better yet, in the last 90 days, and average those prices, get a price per square foot, then based on your property, tell you the value of the property that you're looking at. Always establish ownerships and liens on the collateral independent of the borrower. Document preparation. Okay, so who prepares the documents that you need for closing? Title company lawyer. By the way, does the title company actually prepare it? No, they hire a lawyer to prepare it. Many of them have an in-house lawyer. They're a lawyer, but they only work for this title company. I don't recommend using the title company lawyer. On the one hand, the title company lawyer is going to be a fairly cheap lawyer. That's a good thing. But remember that the title company lawyer works for the title company, not for you. So their number one job is to protect the title company, not to protect you as a lender. So the answer is, who prepares the documents? Your lawyer. That's what's recommended. Now, be sure you get somebody that knows what they're doing. By the way, can you buy any legal document you want online? I will suggest you can buy no legal document you want online, because you do not want any legal document that is online, because it is a generic form that may be totally incorrect and wrong for you. Number 3, yourself. This is an advanced strategy, and a lot of real estate investors I know do this. I am not recommending it to you. How much should you charge? Well, you shouldn't charge any more than hard money lenders are charging, because you have to stay competitive. So how much do you want to charge? The answer is, what are your investing objectives? If your objectives are security, if your objectives are to keep your money deployed, then you will charge less. If your objectives are to get a greater return, then you will charge more. But the more you charge, the greater risk you're going to take. Your risk tolerance is really what determines it. If you want to charge more, you'll have to take higher risks. You see, people who are very low risk can borrow money at lower interest rates. So how much should you charge? It depends on the perceived risk in each deal. So how do you determine the perceived risk? For me, the number one factor is borrower experience. The more experienced a borrower is, the less risk. Having said that, even experienced investors make mistakes, so you need to watch each borrower closely. The loan-to-value ratio is a major risk factor. 60% loan-to-value, I'll give you a lot better terms than 70%, and if we're going to go above 70%, then the terms are going to get worse and worse. Longer loans pose a higher risk. Now, I should qualify that. By the way, this says 2013, should say 2023. If I'm making a 6-month loan, there's less time for it to go bad than a 12-month loan. So if I make a 1-year loan, I'm going to charge more points, more origination fee, and I'm going to charge a higher interest rate, because if the market goes south, I want more protection. The loan position increases risk dramatically. For example, right now today, if I'm doing a first loan, personally, I'm not going to go below 10%. If I'm doing a second position loan, I'm absolutely not going to go below 12%, and most of them I'm doing second position at 14%. If somebody wants a third position loan, it's going to be at 18% and 3 or 4 points. If a borrower is refinancing due to issues with their current loan, that's a big red flag. A third of my inquiries are of people who have an existing loan and they want to refinance it. So any uncertainty is a risk factor. In 2023, there's a big uncertainty, and that is the market in general. But the other side of the coin is that's already scared a lot of our competitors out of the market. By the way, when is the market going to get better? I will tell you, it will start getting better before the next presidential election. It always does. I don't care which party's in power, which party's not in power. It always starts getting better before the next presidential election. Going 2 slides back, how much should you charge? Continued. You can also decide to charge points, documentation fees, and other fees based on your expenses and risk in the loan. How much is a function of market factors and risk in the loan. The most common question I get from borrowers all the time is, what are your terms? My answer is always, it depends. What does it depend on? The risk. What kind of risk? Perceived risk. Until I know the details of the deal, I can't give them a rate. But I guarantee my rate will be competitive with hard money lenders and with other private lenders. I never quote a rate on a potential deal. I never quote a rate on a what if. Somebody says, what if I have a house under contract for $200,000? I say, bring me the contract and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, you'll spend all your time quoting hypotheticals. I don't have time for hypotheticals. I tell them, get it under contract and we'll talk. If they really press, I tell them hard money lenders charge between 8 and 12% for that, but I can always beat any real hard money quote. It's not the same as saying I will beat any hard money quote. I say I can beat any hard money quote. If they bring me a hard money quote and I don't beat it, I'm willing to bet you that 99% of the time it's because they didn't tell the hard money lender everything. So how do you find borrowers? As a lender, how do you find borrowers? Borrowers tell me they can't find lenders. Lenders tell me they can't find borrowers. Well, the number one way is to go to meetings like this. Go to real estate meetings, clubs, and mixers. Participate and hand out your card. Make sure you have a card that is only for private lending. Network, network, network. Make sure every realtor, wholesaler, closer, and every other real estate professional you ever meet knows that you're a lender. I guarantee you, most of the time, when I introduce myself as a private money lender, half the people I introduce myself to say something like, I've never met a private money lender. Or, really, you lend money? They don't even know private money lenders exist. Now, you can promote yourself on Facebook and Craigslist, but man, you are going to get so many undesirables. And by undesirables, I mean you're going to get emails from sendmeyourmoney.ru. .ru is Russia. You're going to get every kind of scam you can imagine. If you get someone who wants to borrow more money than you have available, contact me. I might partner with you for lending deals. Feel free to call me if you want to review any potential lending deals, no charge. Borrower must have the deal under contract. No hypotheticals.
If you want to learn how to buy your first rental property out of state, then watch this free class I did on how to buy your first rental property out of state that covers everything step by step. I'll see you over there.